Imagine a world where political disagreements, well, they don't just stay in the headlines. They shatter the public square with deadly violence. Just days ago, September 10th, 2025, America was left reeling, really reeling, by the political assassination of 31-year-old conservative leader Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. And this wasn't just a tragic loss, though it certainly was that. Our sources confirm it was a brutal act. Authorities, they immediately linked it to radical leftist ideology and really alarming online incitement. We're going to expose the chilling details of this investigation, things like confirmed DNA evidence and social media posts calling for Kirk's death before it even happened. Yeah, this deep dive, it's going to confront how political violence is, tearing at the fabric of our nation, the unsettling role these digital platforms play in radicalizing people, and even a disturbing national security investigation into foreign influence, right at the highest levels of American politics. It feels like a turning point, honestly. And what we uncover about these interconnected threats, well, it's crucial for understanding the fight for America's future. Our mission today is pretty straightforward. Unpack the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, explore social media's role in breeding this kind of violence, delve into how political figures are reacting, and, reveal this concerning foreign influence operation tied to a high-ranking politician. This deep dive's about connecting those critical dots, giving you the facts, and help you understand what this all means for you and for our country. Because these issues, they touch all of us. So let's start by understanding who Charlie Kirk actually was.
Well, what's really significant about Charlie Kirk's death, it isn't just the personal tragedy, profound as that is. Utah Governor Spencer Cox, he was quick to label it a political assassination. He called it an attack on the American experiment and on free expression itself.
That's strong language.
It is. And it's not hyperbole. It really frames this as a direct strike, right at the heart of our national ideals, open debate, peaceful dissent.
Absolutely. And that context is crucial. Kirk was a dynamic force, really. A 31-year-old conservative youth activist and influencer. He galvanized a generation, founded Turning Point USA when he was just 18. Became widely known for inspiring young conservatives traveling the country, openly sharing his Christian faith.
A huge impact.
A huge impact, which unfortunately, as we're seeing now, can also make someone a target in today's, polarized climate. Now, for the grim details, Kirk was fatally shot in the neck. September 10th, 2025, while speaking at an event in Orem, Utah.
Right in front of an audience, broad daylight.
Yeah.
And the investigation, it moved incredibly fast. They quickly identified and arrested 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed Robinson's DNA was found. Well, not just on a screwdriver at a rooftop vantage point nearby, but also on a towel that was wrapped around the rifle used in the attack.
Wow. So clear links.
Very clear. Irrefutable links to the crime scene. It leaves very little doubt about his direct involvement. Investigators concluded Robinson was, and this is their term, deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology.
Deeply indoctrinated.
Yeah. His own family confirmed he'd grown increasingly political in recent years and expressed intense dislike for Kirk and his conservative views.
So this wasn't just some random act of violence then, was it? It really sounds like it was premeditated, ideologically driven.
Precisely. Exactly that. And the evidence, it gets even more chilling, actually. Bullet casings recovered with the murder weapon. They had specific anti-fascist engravings on them.
Engravings, like what?
Things like "Hey Fascist," "Catch," and lyrics from Bella Ciao, the famous Italian anti-fascist song.
Wow. So not subtle messages.
Not at all. Direct, provocative statements. Another casing just had this crude, derogatory taunt. "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
Which is odd, almost juvenile next to the political stuff.
It is. It highlights the sometimes offensive and kind of contradictory nature of extremist rhetoric. You see that sometimes. But further solidifying the motive, there's a text exchange. It reveals Robinson allegedly told someone he had an opportunity to target Kirk because of, quote, his hatred for what Charlie stood for.
Okay, so that really spells it out. A clear, personal, political vendetta.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's truly unsettling how explicit the ideological links are here. But, what makes this situation maybe even more alarming is how these extreme ideas, they don't just fester in someone's head, right? They're often amplified, even incubated online. Yeah. So let's unpack this a bit. The internet, it's supposed to be for connection information. But tragically, it's also being used as this potent breeding ground for extreme ideas. And even, like we see here, direct incitement to violence. Indeed. That's a critical point here. Our sources show Tyler Robinson lived much of his life on the internet. That's a quote. And through that immersion, he became deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology.
So it wasn't just casual browsing.
No. No, and what's fascinating here, or maybe terrifying, is how this isn't just about passive exposure. It's about these algorithmic echo chambers. They amplify extreme viewpoints.
Right. They feed you more of what you already engage with.
Exactly. These digital spaces, they can create this false sense of consensus. They isolate people from counter-arguments, and they effectively turn belief systems into these sort of self-reinforcing loops of radicalization.
It's like platforms designed for connection are being weaponized.
Yeah.
Creating digital cults, almost.
That's a good way to put it, where violent rhetoric just becomes normalized within that self-selected community. And what's even more disturbing is the evidence suggesting potential advanced knowledge online. The FBI is actively investigating at least 7 social media accounts for just that.
7 accounts.
At least 7. For example, one X account, that's the platform, used to be Twitter handle at TallyHalAlbum, chillingly posted, quote, "It'd be funny if someone like Charlie Kirk got shot on September 10th LMAO, a full week before the event."
A week. Wow.
Then, the day before the assassination, another X account at Nadragovs wrote, "Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates him literally." Then followed up with, "Let's just say something big will happen tomorrow."
Just blatant.
Blatant. And there was a TikTok video, too, warning, "Charles James Kirk does not know what's coming tomorrow. Be ready." And then added, "This isn't a threat, it's a promise."
That's truly chilling to hear, the casualness of these threats, this predictive nature. It almost feels like a script being written out loud in public. What does that tell us about the psychological shift happening online, where these threats aren't just made but seem to be acted upon?
Well, it speaks to a profound breakdown, maybe, of consequences and a normalization of extreme thought within certain online pockets. And the celebration afterwards is just as stark. After the assassination, an X account posted, "We find out," just celebrating the murder.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. The FBI is investigating whether pro-transgender groups online or maybe leftist groups in Utah on platforms like Steam might have had prior knowledge of the plot. Robinson's trans-identifying roommate, Lance Twiggs, is cooperating with authorities, so that could shed more light on these digital connections, hopefully.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It seems the lines between online threats, radicalization, and real-world violence, they're not just blurring, they're like merging. And Vice President JD Vance, he has a very strong, very unyielding message about how the nation should respond to this.
Yeah, he does. Vice President Vance stated unequivocally, there can be no unity with those who celebrate or excuse Kirk's assassination. Full stop. He made a very clear argument that political violence is not a both sides issue. He argued that one side, which he identified as the left, has a much bigger and malignant problem.
And he cited examples.
He did. He cited historical context. Things like the 2017 assassination attempt on then-President Donald Trump and the shooting of Congressman Steve Scalise. As evidence of, this pattern, Vance urged Americans to take action, to call out and even call their employer for those celebrating Kirk's murder online. He asserted there's no civility in the celebration of political assassination.
And has that happened, people calling employers?
Our sources confirm it has. It's had real-world consequences. Individuals ranging from airline pilots to university professors have reportedly faced discipline for posting things belittling Kirk's death. Furthermore, Vance vowed the Trump administration would move to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism within the country. So, signaling a much harder line against what they see as domestic extremist ideologies.
This whole incident, it isn't just a flashpoint of violence, is it? It feels like a symptom, revealing these deeper, maybe often unacknowledged fractures within our society. And ironically, some of these fractures are actually happening within the very ideological movements we've been discussing. And even within the media landscape that's supposed to cover them. Beyond the immediate tragedy, the calls for accountability. This event forces us to look at these internal shifts, too.
That's a crucial observation.
Yeah.
Because it shows that ideological purity, consistency, they're constantly being tested. For instance, within conservative circles, you still have figures sometimes labeled never-Trumpers, like George Conway, who leads groups like Checks and Balances. They've publicly accused conservative lawyers of selling their souls for judicial appointments by supporting Trump, suggesting they compromised legal principles for, political gain.
Right. The argument about principles versus power.
Exactly. They've also raised concerns about Trump attacking the press and spreading disinformation. However, publications like The Federalist, They vehemently criticize this stance. They call it disingenuous and foolhardy. They argue these never-Trump pundits have lost their moral compasses by aligning with liberal narratives against conservative achievements.
So a real battle for the soul of conservatism there.
A significant and ongoing struggle.
Huh.
It's about principles versus pragmatism, really.
And it's not just on the right, is it?
Yeah.
We see similar internal shifts, criticisms on the left as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Take the Young Turks, TY2. They were once seen as a kind of gateway to left-wing politics, especially back during the Occupy era.
I remember that.
Yet some former viewers, even contributors, now accuse the hosts, Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, of becoming dishonest and reactionary.
Reactionary, how so?
Well, Kasparian, for example, gets criticized for openly giving Trump the benefit of the doubt sometimes, and for tearing into Democrats episode after episode, which viewers say is a big departure from their older, more uniformly progressive stance. Uygur is described less as a consistent leftist and more as a populist, someone who follows populist energy. Basically aligns with whatever sentiment seems broadly popular at the moment, rather than sticking to a fixed ideology.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he's been accused of hypocrisy, apparently, for refusing to debate progressives while suggesting negotiations with MAGA.
So these internal critiques, they show that even within these established ideological camps, there's significant discontent, perceived shifts in core principles. It's fragmenting the landscape even further. Okay, so far, we've dug into the violent consequences of radicalized domestic ideology. We've looked at how our internal political landscape is shifting, splintering even. But what if? What if these vulnerabilities are also being actively exploited by external forces? What if foreign actors are looking at these deep divisions we have and actively trying to make them wider? And here's where it gets really interesting, because our sources also reveal a disturbing external threat, one that strikes right at the heart of our democratic process, and it's intricately linked to the very divisions we've just been talking about.
Yeah, this is a major national security concern, and it's coming to light through some rigorous investigative work. Judicial Watch, they initiated a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, a FOIA lawsuit, and it uncovered some frankly shocking documents. These records detail that the Biden administration's Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, and the FBI, they conducted counterintelligence investigations.
Into who?
Into Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, specifically his extensive connections to the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP.
The CCP, the ruling party in China.
Exactly. And their influence operations, they're a major concern globally, especially when they target our politicians. Emails uncovered show that China is happy with Walz being selected as Kamala Harris's running mate back in 2024. They apparently saw him as, quote, someone they can get to D.C.
Someone they can get to D.C.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a Homeland Security email from August 6, 2024 explicitly revealed awareness within DHS of the People's Republic of China's plan to target politicians likely to end up in D.C. And it specifically mentioned Walz and Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo as well.
So they knew about this targeting strategy.
It appears so. Furthermore, a whistleblower also informed the House Oversight Committee that Walz was specifically a target of the CCP. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton, he called this a major scandal and a cover-up by the Biden administration, implying this information was deliberately withheld or maybe downplayed.
What stands out to me here is, this isn't just typical political infighting or campaign strategies. This is about foreign adversaries potentially manipulating our elections, our leadership, for their own strategic benefit. This could affect all of us, right? Fundamentally eroding trust in our democratic process, our national sovereignty. It's a chilling reminder that the threats we face aren't just internal.
Exactly. When a foreign power explicitly identifies and targets politicians that they think they can influence once they get to Washington, D.C., that's a direct attack on our national security. It's fundamental. It compromises the integrity of our whole political system. And it raises profound questions about loyalty, about accountability. This isn't just about one politician, Tim Walz. It's about the vulnerability of our highest offices to external manipulation.
This deep dive has really shown us, hasn't it, that political violence, online radicalization, foreign interference, they're not isolated incidents. They are interconnected threats, challenging the very foundation of our nation. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, driven by extremist ideology, amplified online. It demands we confront these difficult truths head on. Vice President Vance's call for no unity with those who celebrate violence is pledged to dismantle institutions promoting it. That signals a hardening stance against these dangers. And meanwhile, these revelations about Governor Walz's ties to the Chinese Communist Party, well, they expose a deep vulnerability, one we have to address to protect our sovereignty, the integrity of our leadership. So in an age where digital lines just blur into real-world consequences, where foreign powers actively seek to exploit our divisions, how will you choose to engage or disengage to safeguard the American experiment? What institutions are truly promoting unity, do you think, and which ones are fueling division? In a world where information and disinformation shapes everything, and the stakes for our nation's future, well, they've never felt higher.